Tonight on Closing Arguments, the body cam video that stunned everyone. Seeing the moment when Amish mother Ruth Miller told police she had, quote, given her son to God after allegedly tossing her 4-year-old into a lake at an Ohio campground. Now Ruth Miller is charged with murder and facing several other charges related to her other children. Today, she was back in court for an emotional hearing. In Los Angeles, California, popular singer David was on tour when the body of a missing teenage girl was found in the trunk of his impounded Tesla. Now, reportedly, police are saying Celeste Rivas Hernandez had likely been dead for weeks before her remains were found. What is the next step in this investigation? But first, political activist Charlie Kirk was shot and killed at an outdoor event at Utah Valley University on September 10th. Now the man accused of his murder is behind bars, awaiting trial. Today, there was a hearing. How are things progressing so far in the case against Tyler Robinson? We have the latest from court. Good evening and welcome to Closing Arguments. I'm Julia Janae, filling in tonight for Vinnie Politan. Thanks for being with us. Today, we take you to Provo, Utah, where for the first time, accused assassin Tyler Robinson appeared virtually in court with his newly appointed attorney. This is the second hearing for a case that's tinged by chaos. Robinson is facing charges that he fired a rifle at Speaker Charlie Kirk while he was addressing thousands of college students. After those gunshots rang out, a bullet striking Kirk's body and killing him, young people were looking on, and it became a chaotic scene. One where even law enforcement were initially confused about who the shooter may be. And prosecutors say there are witnesses they haven't even identified yet. The shooting, captured on phone cameras, grabbed every news cycle and headline across the country. And the response, especially online, was chaotic. Social media platforms struggled to keep those horrific images from spreading like wildfire online. Opinions and theories and political arguments surged even after the arrest of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson following that 33-hour manhunt. And amid the chaos, a lot has been revealed about the accused shooter. A lot more than is often shared in a criminal investigation this early. Law enforcement has provided a detailed account of what led them to Robinson and how friends and family of the suspect helped to orchestrate his surrender. There are even text messages that revealed how Robinson told his roommate and lover that he was the shooter and that he did it due to strong feelings against Kirk's rhetoric. And now, this high-profile case is firmly in a courtroom, and the newly minted judge presiding, who's been on the bench around 60 days, is making it clear from the beginning, as far as he's concerned, the chaos stops here. A gag order is now in place, discovery has to be exchanged, and a legal team has been assembled for Robinson in this death penalty case, led by Kathy Nestor. So the big question today in court was, will Robinson, who authorities say admitted to this crime, waive a preliminary hearing in this case? Here's a look at what happened today.
With respect to discovery, the state is required to provide to the defense within 5 days of the defense's request the discovery that we relied on in making this charging decision. We'll be prepared to do that, so we'll look for defense counsel's request or the next day or so, and we'll provide that to the defense.
Thank you.
We also, for the court's information, we met this morning with the defense team briefly in our office to talk about discovery and the process, so we'll be working together. There is a substantial amount of discovery in this case, Your Honor. It's voluminous, to say the least, and we're working on a process where we can exchange information as quickly as possible and be efficient in that process.
We recognize that we are here today for a waiver hearing. It is not our intent to waive a preliminary hearing in this matter. We are going to be seeking that one be set. However, based largely on what the state just referred to as far as the voluminous nature of the discovery materials, we do think it would be prudent to simply reset for another conference, another waiver hearing, a little bit down the road, where we have a better idea once we start seeing the discovery as it rolls in. I do recognize we're going to be getting that first batch in 5 days, but it's my understanding from our meeting today that there is massive amounts of digital that is going to be coming, and until we can kind of get our heads around exactly what we're dealing with and how much we need to process, it's going to be difficult for us to give you a reasonable expectation of when we will be ready to do the prelims. So we're asking today that we put that decision off, and maybe we could check in 30 to 60 days and just kind of let the court know where we're at and how much we're looking at and how much time we may need to set a preliminary hearing. Also, as far as a detention hearing, we are not asking the court to address that issue at this time. Under the statute, the issue is going to come down to the question of whether there's substantial evidence, which right now we're just not in a position at all to be able to even argue to the court. So we are probably going to ask that the court delay that decision possibly until the time of the prelim. But if it's sooner, we will ask the court for a hearing. But at this time, we are not asking the court to make any decisions on that matter.
The attorneys need more time. Really, on both sides, they are saying that there is so much evidence that they need time to go through it. So what does that mean could happen after this hearing today? Let's bring in the think tank. We are joined by family law attorney Jennifer Brandt and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Imran Ansari is with us. Thank you both for being here. Jennifer, let me start with you. Help people understand, what is a preliminary hearing and why wouldn't this defense team waive it when we have alleged admission from this defendant that he is in fact the shooter?
Well, the preliminary hearing is an opportunity for the defense to see what evidence the prosecutor has to bring these charges. And they don't want to waive it because we all, have heard about a lot of evidence that's out there. They really don't know for sure. So they need an opportunity to review the discovery. They said there's a lot of it. They want to go through that. And then they want to see, it's not a bad idea to get a feel for what the prosecutor has, what the prosecution has, and what they're basing these charges on, and get a look sort of what might be to come in the trial.
Yeah, the discovery is coming. It sounds like the prosecution can't get to it now. Imran, when you're hearing these terms, the massive amounts of digital evidence, the voluminous discovery that it seems even the prosecution is struggling to figure out how to transfer it to the defense, is this something that strikes you as unusual, or is this just par for the course when it comes to starting out a huge case like this?
Yeah, Janae, certainly in this case, it doesn't surprise me that the prosecution has what's likely terabytes of data in terms of discovery that they're going to have to turn over to the defense. Particularly to this case, you have to think about the case, how it's a national case in many ways, and the investigation that followed was quick, it was swift, and it was intense. And you had local authorities, you had the FBI, of course, helping those local authorities. That all led to this state indictment. It doesn't surprise me that the prosecution has tons of data, and it doesn't surprise me that the defense would be prudent and certainly not waive any preliminary hearings until they have an opportunity to thoroughly review that discovery that they're going to get. And I wouldn't be surprised if the defense certainly does have some preliminary hearings that they're going to request to attack some of that evidence. But we all know from what we hear now that the evidence against Tyler Robinson, from what we know, seems to be strong, and it seems to be something that the state's going to be coming into this prosecution with a heavy hand.
Yeah, they laid out a lot of it for us in a press conference. We heard from the Utah County attorney who gave what we usually don't get from the prosecution so early on, a nearly 10-page preliminary hearing outline. Let's bring into the conversation attorney Ali Benevento. Ali, thanks so much for being with us. Let me get your thoughts on where we are with things and this defense team. What are they looking ahead to now that they're working to get that discovery, especially considering this is a death penalty case?
I think they're looking ahead to a complicated case where the eyes of the entire country are going to be watching. I agree with my colleagues. I think that discovery is going to be voluminous, probably talking about gathering cell phone footage from multiple witnesses, from multiple sources. And so I think they're gearing up for what is probably going to be the trial of the year.
Yeah, the prosecutor even said today that there's some witnesses that they have not even been able to speak to or identify because so many people witnessed this. There's something else that happened today. This was a short hearing, but I want you to listen to this statement from the judge. After everything was done, Tyler Robinson was appearing virtually via Zoom. We didn't get to see him on camera, but he was present via that method. Take a listen to the judge and then the prosecutor, how they wrapped up this hearing.
As this case moves forward, Mr. Robinson's constitutional rights will be protected at every stage. He sits before this court presumed innocent, and that presumption remains unless and until each element of every offense charged against him is proved beyond a reasonable doubt. At the same time, and as applicable, victims are entitled under our Constitution to be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity, free from harassment or abuse. Justice demands that both of these principles, the rights of the accused and the rights of victims, be honored without compromise. I remain steadfast in my oath that I made 56 days ago to support and defend the constitutions of the United States and of Utah. I will carry out my duties with fidelity, transparency, and impartiality, treating every person who appears before me with the dignity and respect they are inherently due because they are human beings. Let me be clear. I will not put my finger on the scale of justice. These proceedings will be open to the public, conducted in accordance with the law, and handled with diligence and competence to ensure that justice is never compromised. It is the standing order of this court that Mr. Robinson shall be allowed to appear in person so he can fully engage with his attorneys and participate in these legal proceedings. Counsel, regardless of who is watching, whether it is the nation or a single individual, we must fulfill our roles with integrity, civility, and diligence. I encourage each of you to give your very best to this case. Neither Mr. Robinson nor the people of Utah deserve anything less than the fair and impartial administration of justice. Counsel, anything else that we can address today?
Your Honor, we appreciate the court's comments with respect to Your Honor's role in this case. In like matter, we commit to approach this case with integrity, with professionalism and civility. We are truth seekers. We will aggressively pursue the truth in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, counsel, unless there's anything else, thank you for being here.
No comments there at the end from the defense. I'm not sure how they could follow that. Jennifer Brandt, your thoughts on those words?
Well, as Allie pointed out, the whole nation is watching this case, and we have a brand new judge, 56 days as a judge. So he knows that everybody is sort of watching him, and he's really setting the tone here. He's going to have a professional matter. You pointed out in the beginning, there's been a lot of chaos surrounding this case already. He is going to calm the chaos. There will not be chaos in this courtroom if you listen to the judge's words. He's already instructing everybody, do your best, but act with integrity, and give your best to this case, but he's going to follow the rules, and it's going to be by the book. So I expect that he's really going to make control over this case.
Oh, yeah. Judge Tony Graff, he is a new judge, yes, but he has lots of experience in various district attorneys' offices around Utah ahead of this appointment to the bench. Imran, what did you think about those statements at the end? If you're a criminal defense attorney, what are you thinking if you're sitting at the table hearing this being said at the end of this second initial status hearing?
Well, Julia, as a defense attorney, and I want to take a step back. We're talking about Judge Graff, and it's amazing, right? 56 days or so on the bench, and this is the case that he's getting in front of him. It's amazing, and he's going to have an immense job in front of him. But the defense attorneys, let's put ourselves in their shoes. They are taking on a case right now that is going to subject them to a lot of public criticism. Some people don't appreciate that it's under our Constitution that every defendant deserves a robust and vigorous defense, but they're going to have an immense job in front of them because they're not only going to have the fight in the courtroom, Julia, but most likely they're going to have that public criticism from supporters of Charlie Kirk, from people who feel that or just can't appreciate the job that they're doing as defense attorneys. So hearing this, it was very calming from Judge Graff, but of course, we're going to see probably a very intense road ahead of us in that courtroom, whether it be the evidence or just the emotions that we get from both sides.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. Allie, can you weigh in on that? There's no doubt that every party in this case has probably been flooded with comments from the public. Do you think that's what sparked this need to speak out when they know the cameras are rolling?
I think that's entirely possible. I found the judge's speech to be refreshing. I think it's needed, especially at a time where the public's perception of the justice system has really taken a beating over the last year or so. Integrity and civility, I think those are great reminders to both sides. And I feel really good about the fact that we have a new judge. I understand he has a lot of experience, but because people are watching, like Jennifer said, by the book, I think this was a great reminder, a great admonishment to the parties, and hopefully everybody in that courtroom can follow through. And hopefully the public takes note that this is not going to be a situation where people just get to do what they want because they want a certain outcome, that we are going to follow the rules and we're going to conduct ourselves with integrity and civility. I love to hear it.
This was a great way to start off this case in terms of letting us know who the players are and how things will progress. As we said, discovery is being exchanged, and we will see when the next hearing is in this case. The think tank is going to stay with us. We have to get to our break, but when we come back, we have new developments in a case that's grabbing a lot of headlines as well. The David Tesla homicide investigation. Plus, here's a preview of what's coming up in the next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, in Riley, Mississippi, grandfather Jeffrey Spence is on trial, accused of robbing and murdering his daughter's boyfriend and father of her child, Kirby Carpenter. Now all the evidence is in, the arguments have been made. What will the jury decide?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
4 dead students.
None of it seemed to make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rowlands. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
I was such an internet kid. The internet is really what I claim as my home. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I say the internet. Because I was just online every day, doing my schoolwork, making songs, making a video, being a YouTuber, content creator, posting TikToks, posting on Instagram. Like, that's really my neighborhood was Instagram, and the society was the internet. You know what I'm saying? So
that was recording artist David talking about the influence the internet has had on his music and his career. And now, more than ever before, David is all over the internet, and not for what he would have intended. This is due to the fact that a body of a teenage girl was discovered in his abandoned Tesla in LA a few weeks ago. Investigators found the decomposing remains of would-be 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez in the front trunk of an impounded Tesla, and it was registered to David. This happened back on September 8th. Celeste had been reported missing multiple times before, and she had been missing the last time from 2024, ultimately being found deceased this year. And today, we're learning new details about those remains found in the Tesla. The Los Angeles Police Department had this to say about the actually, this is from the LA Times, where, quote, the 2023 Tesla registered to David Anthony Burke, known as David, was ticketed by Los Angeles authorities on a Hollywood Hills street near where the singer lived for 11 days before the decomposing body of a missing girl was found inside of the trunk. And that Tesla had been parked on Bluebird Avenue so long that some residents complained about it in late August, leading to the car being ticketed, according to law enforcement sources and records reviewed by the Times. And on the afternoon of August 27th, a parking enforcement officer marked the Tesla, noting the position of its tires. And then on September 3rd, the officer issued a citation for the Tesla for violating the 72-hour parking ordinance. 2 days later, that Tesla was impounded and towed to the Hollywood tow yard. But it would be another 3 days before the grim truth emerged. And today, the Los Angeles Police Department, they also released a statement on the status of the investigation, reading in part, and this is new from them, the vehicle had been parked at the location from which it was towed for several weeks. So our victim here, Ms. Rivas Hernandez, may have been deceased for several weeks before the discovery of her body. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not yet determined the cause or manner of Ms. Rivas Hernandez's death. As such, it remains unclear whether there is any criminal culpability beyond the concealment of her body. The LAPD has not named any suspects, including David, in this case. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Jennifer Brandt, Ali Benevento, and Imran Ansari. Imran, let me start with you on this one. I mean, we're getting a lot more here than we got last week from the LAPD, where they haven't named any suspects, and they also said they don't know if this is a homicide beyond charges of potentially concealment of the body. What are your thoughts on what we're getting now?
I think we're going to have to wait until this investigation pans out more, right? We don't want to rush the judgment, but of course there's a lot of question marks here when the body of this young girl is found in this car. It's registered to David. He is not a suspect yet, or we don't know if he will be at all. But of course the investigation continues, and it's going to be very interesting to see as we get more from the medical examiner, we get more from LAPD to see what they get in terms of this mystery, because it really truly is a mystery at this point.
Ali, what do you think investigators are waiting on right now?
That's a great question. I can tell you what I'm wondering. How in the middle of summer in Los Angeles, California, are we thinking that a body was in a trunk for that many days? The tow company coming by and marking the tires and nobody smells anything. I'm kind of wondering when the body was placed in the trunk. I think they're probably waiting on trying to get some more information about the cause and manner of death. And that may give law enforcement some direction on where to go from here. But I'm immediately a little bit suspicious of this idea that a Tesla is sitting in the hot Los Angeles sun and that body was in there the entire time, and not a neighbor passing by, not the tow company. Anybody noticed a foul odor of a decomposing body coming from that car?
Yeah, not until the impound lot did anyone smell something unusual that led to that grim discovery. Jennifer Brandt, in terms of why no one has been arrested yet, I know police couch this with, we are still investigating, we don't even know if this was a murder. But we've seen in different situations where lesser charges sometimes are filed against people, either for not cooperating with police, which we understand David is cooperating, but some lesser charges that they will do, perhaps about tampering with evidence, tampering with a body, that don't necessarily go to homicide, but they haven't charged anyone with anything.
Yeah, I think they're playing that pretty close to the vest, Julia. And, you know, how can they say there's no criminal culpability? I mean, we have the death here of a very young teenager. Obviously, she didn't get into that bag herself and get herself into the trunk of that car. Someone placed her there. And she had been missing for quite some time. Her family didn't know where she was. You know, where was she? Who saw her? There's somebody who did, somebody who knew where she was, someone who must have had contact with her. She just didn't end up in David's car, you know, parked out in the street somewhere. It is his car. I mean, he definitely has ties to this case. So I think the police are, you know, not giving us everything that we're asking about. I think they have some more information that they're just waiting to dot their I's and cross their T's and see what they can put together before more comes out in this case.
Very likely, especially when you're dealing with the LAPD. They notoriously don't give a lot of information, especially when the investigation is ongoing. Imran, what do you think the medical examiner's office is waiting on? They've already released the body to Celeste Rivas Hernandez's family. So whatever they have in-house, there's something more that they are looking for. What typically is the process here for them to come back with cause and manner of death?
Sure. So that report needs to go through multiple levels of review. And of course, we don't know what they're doing in terms of the residual testing. The body was highly decomposed. We know that. So that's going to frustrate the medical examiner's ability to determine the cause of death. But as we know here, exactly, a 15-year-old does not get into a trunk of the car without some suspicious behavior, whether it's the criminality that is known now, which is the concealment of a body, and then ultimately, if it's determined that this was a homicide, which of course, let's be honest, that wouldn't surprise any of us if that's the ultimate determination. But the manner of death needs to be really verified, and I think they're going to play close to the cuff because there's some public figures involved until they truly determine, if they can, what the manner of death is. And then we'll see what action the LAPD will take against any suspects that they may have at hand.
Yeah, we're showing that picture of the tattoo on the finger of the singer. A similar one was tattooed to the victim here. Final question, Allie, before we have to go to a break. What do you think the defense attorney, who we expect is representing David, is doing behind the scenes while we're in this limbo?
Well, I tell you what they probably should be doing is making sure that they're really talking to their client and not letting their client do a whole lot of talking to the police, because something tells me that one of the reasons why they may be keeping details close and they're saying that David is cooperating, they may be waiting for David to dig himself into a hole and say the wrong thing or say too much. And so hopefully that defense attorney is protecting his interests if he did have some type of involvement, that they're not making the job of the police easy, that they're advocating for him, and hopefully preparing for what's to come.
Absolutely. Again, no one has been charged in this case. Details keep trickling out, and we will continue to follow them as things develop. The think tank staying with us. We're going to step aside for our break. When we come back, this story, one of an Amish mom accused of tossing her 4-year-old into the lake. She was in court today. We'll tell you the outcome.
I gave him to God.
You gave him to God today?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I threw him in the lake and I gave him to God. And people are going to tell me I am crazy, but he is real and he loves you. He really does love you. He loves you. And I doubted him. I doubted him so many times, but I am to tell you he is coming soon. He is coming very soon. Prepare your hearts. The end is close. And I'm for sure supposed to tell you that he does love you.
You heard there Ruth Miller saying people will say that I'm crazy. Well, now through her defense, she's saying she's crazy. In a way, this is an Amish mom who is accused of murder. Prosecutors say that body cam shows not only the interaction with police, but also those moments after she tossed her 4-year-old son into a lake at an Ohio campground. He did not survive this incident. And we're learning new details about this case because Ruth Miller was in court today asking to be released on bond. Let's get all the updates from Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who is joining us now. Tell us about court today, Cody.
Such a bizarre story to follow, right?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable to say the least. But as far as today's hearing, only a handful of witnesses were called during today's bond hearing surrounding what prosecutors are calling the murder of Ruth Miller's 4-year-old son, Vincent Miller. Now, she was arrested in late August after park rangers responded to a report that a woman and 3 of her children crashed a golf cart into Atwood Lake in Ohio after she had thrown the 4-year-old in the lake beforehand. Now, those 3 children included her 15-year-old daughter and 18-year-old twin sons who were able to swim to safety. But just to remind you of her reasoning for why she did this, here's more body cam footage from that day.
Ma'am, can you explain to me what happened? Who did you throw in the water?
I gave my son to God.
Your son?
Yes.
Where's your husband?
He went for a walk this morning.
And you haven't seen him
He
since?
didn't ever come back. And we went to the boat and his clothes were there. And God told me he's in the lake and a fish swallowed him. And you're actually supposed to go look for him in the bottom of the lake. And you will find the fish and you will find my husband.
I need to know where your husband's at.
He's at the bottom of the lake in a fish.
He's in a fish.
Yes.
There's no fish large enough on an Atwood to swallow your husband.
He's at the bottom of the lake in a fish.
We really need to verify your husband's still with us.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, he's actually just go out in the bottom of the lake.
Well, I can't go in the bottom of the lake. So
Do you have scuba divers?
Yeah, we're gonna have to call divers in to go to the bottom of the lake.
Please do.
And you're saying
Get the best ones there are, because this is a miracle from God, and you will see. You will see.
you're saying your 4-year-old son's down there too?
He's with God.
Where's his body at?
I don't know.
Where did you throw him in the water at?
Off of the dock at the causeway.
Ruth Miller was seen crying in court today as investigators went over details of what happened that day and what Ruth told them during her police interviews. Now, the lead detective took the stand and told the court about initially arriving to the hospital where Ruth was taken after her arrest.
Before I even got around the corner, I could hear a female voice singing very loudly. It appeared to be some kind of religious songs, hymns, something to that effect. Ruth was definitely able to be heard long before I could see her. And it was difficult to make a connection initially because of her loud singing, and she was not really listening to anything else that was going on there. She also had the sheet of the bed covered across her face. And she refused after several requests to remove that sheet from her face, saying that we needed to contact her husband Marcus and that the two of them would share their story together.
Now, of course, we now know that Ruth's husband, Marcus Miller, also drowned in the lake that day as well, which is why police could not get a hold of him. Now, police say he was likely not involved in the drowning of his youngest son, but rather drowned on his own in an effort to, quote, prove his faith to God. Now, Detective Fisher also explained to the court how Ruth said that she was instructed by God to throw her son in the lake. And he also talked about what her daughter, that 15-year-old daughter, said during her police interview.
When she talked about mom leaving with Vincent, she broke down crying and repeatedly saying, she didn't mean to do it. She didn't mean to do it. She didn't mean to do it. She then went on to speak of mom struggling at times with being mentally stable, that mom would have her good days and her bad days. That on her bad days, she was described to be not sleep very well and to be sad. She talked of mom praying, and it was in talking of God, and it was different this time, the moments before leaving with Vincent. And she said that she believed that because dad hadn't returned from his swim, that mom was frantic. She described her as frantic, that she was upset and she was frantic.
So, Julia, since Miller has pled not guilty by reason of insanity, her defense will have to clarify the difference between her religion and her alleged delusion. Did she understand the wrongfulness of what she was doing? Well, earlier this month, an Amish expert joined Court TV's own Julie Grant discussing this exact topic. Take a listen.
It struck me as a mental illness situation, not an Amish religion situation. This is clearly a woman who needed some help, and there was a breakdown in getting her the help that was needed. You'd have to think there would have been some signs ahead of time that were missed. This sounds like an unfortunate nexus of mental illness meets religion. There's clearly an evangelical strain in this particular Amish church, because Amish churches vary greatly from church to church. There's a lot of variation in the church, and this sounds like just an unfortunate combination of mental illness meets religious, very zealous interpretation of Amish religion. You know, if somebody is having mental health problems, it can just, they'll often have an attitude of, we can take care of it ourselves. But I mean, in this case, clearly it didn't work. And there often are facilities available for Amish to take advantage of, but getting them to avail themselves of those is difficult because their culture is so insular.
So the defense argued Miller never posed a risk before, but the state argued that it's possible she'd have another psychotic break. And ultimately, the judge sided with the state and denied bond. So Julia, Ruth Miller will have to remain behind bars for now.
That seems to make sense if she's saying that she had this break from reality where people died. Cody Thomas, thank you for updating us on this case. It's a bizarre one. Let's bring back in the think tank Jennifer Brandt, Ali Benevento, and Imran Ansari. Ali, let me start with you. Let's start with that insanity plea that the defense is attempting here. I don't want to say insanity defenses are rare, but we don't see them that often here on Court TV. Can you talk about why we don't see it as often as one may expect?
Well, I think this is a really unique situation where you have a person who is part of what many people would consider an extreme religious community, where it is often, mental illness is often viewed as a lack of faithfulness, or if you just increase your faith, your mental illness will be resolved. Of course, we know that that's not how that works. Unfortunately, this is a heartbreaking, it was breaking my heart just watching that video for everybody involved for a number of reasons. I think this is one of those rare situations where you have someone who is truly, truly very mentally ill, and it is apparent from the very beginning. And so I think that the defense was wise to go ahead and assert this early on, although, we can't deny what we're seeing on this video. This woman appears to very sincerely believe what she's saying. And again, just the whole situation from start to finish is so heartbreaking. But I think that this is a product, unfortunately, like the expert was saying a moment ago, of just the conflation of religious communities and how they handle or don't handle mental illness.
Oh yeah, Jennifer Brandt, there's so many layers here when it comes to the family dynamic. You have a husband who drowned himself, it appears, before all of this happened. You have this mother who not only admits on camera to drowning or throwing her 4-year-old into the lake, but then the police are called because she drives a golf cart with her 3 teenagers into the water. I mean, it appears that there was no outside interaction, law enforcement interaction with this family that could have prevented some of this.
Julia, no, I have some questions about this, and I don't fully agree with Ali's point. I'm not so sure, that the insanity defense really works here. What about the husband? I mean, was he insane as well? Because he was also looking for God, and he was apparently swimming out allegedly into the lake and drowned. So was he also mentally ill? That's the question. And then you have the children, or the daughter, I believe, who was interviewed and said, Mom never acted like this before. Yes, she had good days and bad days, but she was in a frenzy after realizing that Dad was gone. And, was there any intent in this? I mean, yes, she was looking for God, but did she know by throwing her 4-year-old off the dock that she was drowning him? And then she took the golf cart with her other kids and ran it into the water. I mean, I'm not so sure. I think we have to see how this case develops to really know whether the insanity defense really works here. Sure, she had some mental illness, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she didn't know what she was doing at the time.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait.
It's a high bar, right? You can't just say I have mental illness and this bad thing happened. There's even something the prosecution said, that it actually doesn't matter if she was delusional or if she was malingering, meaning she was pretending to be mentally ill. The natural consequence of throwing someone in the water, a 4-year-old in a lake, is that they are going to die. And if she understood that, even in delusion, then to them, this still does not meet the bar of getting her a not guilty verdict. We're not there yet, but Imran, please weigh in. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why she's there facing trial for murder. What's interesting to me is to see how the forensics will bear out at trial. Because you see her in court there crying. So she's now exhibiting what may be remorse and maybe regret. We don't know why she's crying, but she's certainly appreciating her actions at that point and the fact that she is in court facing murder charges. So it's going to be interesting to see how the forensic analysis from a psych standpoint differentiate her alleged condition then to what she is at now. Maybe she's on medication now. Maybe she's being treated. But to the point here is that, sure, did she appreciate at that time that she was essentially committing murder? She was throwing her 4-year-old son into the water. It's interesting to see how this bears out and how the forensics will ultimately say, what's the difference then to the difference now, and that's what the defense is going to have to contend with at trial.
Oh, yeah. And Allie, real quick before we have to go to break, we've only got about 30 seconds, but let's talk about those investigators. They're having to deal with her in a very calm manner. She's telling them the worst of the worst details, but they are working to get the factual details out.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting her talking. So hopefully that is giving them some insight about her state of mind. And, you know, as to what her husband was thinking or not thinking, we don't know. He's dead. He's at the bottom of the lake. And so the only way that they could get information at that moment was to keep her talking. And I think they did a great job of doing that.
That is all the time we have for now. Think Tank, you have been great. Thank you for being with us tonight. Jennifer Brandt, Ali Benevento, and Imran Ansari. When we come back, I'm going to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus, here's a look at what's coming up on Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight on VPI, Jeffrey Spence, his wife Karen, and his daughter Caitlin were all arrested in connection to the death of Caitlin's boyfriend. But Jeffrey stood trial alone after his wife and daughter made deals with prosecutors. Tonight, we're asking, what is the Spence family dynamic?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
4 dead students.
None of it seemed to make any sense.
He was evil.
What devastation.
All I can do is scream.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. New episode Saturday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Welcome back. We've reached the point in the show where we reveal something else you need to know. Let's put it up in the big board. Here we are in Texas. Police in Austin have identified a new suspect in the 1991 yogurt shop murders of 4 teenage girls. Amy Ayers, Eliza Thomas, and sisters Jennifer and Sarah Harbison. They were killed at the I Can't Believe It's yogurt store back in 1991. The teen girls were bound, gagged, and shot in the head. 2 men who were teenagers at the time of the murders were later tried, convicted, sent to death row and life in prison before their convictions were eventually reversed on appeal. Now police say DNA points to a new suspect, Robert Eugene Brashers. Here's what the Austin police chief said at a press conference earlier.
After 34 years, the Austin police have made a significant breakthrough in this case. This is one of the most devastating and haunting cases in this city's history. This unthinkable crime has weighed heavily on the hearts and the minds of the family, the community, and the detectives who have tirelessly worked this case. As a mother, I cannot begin to imagine just the grief and the pain that you have endured. For the families of Amy, Eliza, Sarah, and Jennifer, today marks a critical step forward in honoring not only their memory, but getting at truth and accountability. We now have evidence linking a specific individual to this case, Robert Eugene Brashers. The only physical evidence located at that scene has been matched to him. Brashers died by suicide in 1999 after a standoff with police in Missouri. And his DNA has since been, and before this connection, he has been connected to murders and rapes across the country. I am grateful for the advancements in science and technology that have allowed us to uncover this critical evidence, identify Robert Eugene Brashers, and move closer to delivering long-awaited answers for the family and our community. While this is a major step, many questions remain. Our work is not over. The Austin Police will continue to work closely with the State Attorney General's Office, Travis County District Attorney's Office, the Forensic Science Director, Dr. Kadavy, and other partners to ensure this case continues to move forward responsibly and with integrity.
Complete answers may be difficult. Brashers shot himself during a standoff with police at a Missouri hotel. Law enforcement has implicated him in several other killings and rapes after the yogurt shop killings. His daughter expressed surprise and sorrow after learning the deaths were linked to her father. We'll keep you updated on any developments there. And before we end this hour, there's a picture that I need to show you. This is Lillian Wanda Jean Adams. Lillian is 16 years old and was last seen in Manchester, Pennsylvania on September 17th. If you have any information on where she is, call the York Area Regional Police Department. That number is on your screen. Or you can always call 911 or 1-800-THE-LOST. Let's see if we can get Lillian to a safe place tonight. And don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime coming up in the next hour on Vinnie Politan Investigates.